Welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichron Kadesh in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. A good Woch to Michael in Germany. That was Yiddish, and in German you could also say it that way. Elisa's in West Virginia. Boker Tov. Christy is joining us in Louisiana. Good morning. Clem, where it's very late in Brisbane, Australia. Welcome. Rabbi, good afternoon to you in Morocco. Who else is joining us? We have Susanna in Miami. Shavuot Tov. And likewise to Joseph. We're a mild day in Jersey. In New Jersey, that is. Diane is in Arizona. Good morning. Davida and Liba Akutvoch in New York. Sandy is joining us in Michigan. She says, good morning to everyone, as everybody does. Shalom to Celeste, or better known as Chava, in Boulder, Colorado. Lynn is joining us in Long Island. Good morning. Lisa is in the UK. And Eugenia in Calgary. Rena is in Colorado. Boker Tov. Who else is here? Rafael Aleichem Shalom in Brazil. Sao Paulo, I think. If I'm not mistaken. Zar in Malaysia has joined us. Good evening. Who else is with us? David in California. Larry in Chabad Reseda. Reseda, where is that, Larry? Okay. Good. Welcome. Thank you for joining. Cindy is in Florida with us. All right, beautiful. We have in Clubhouse, we have Vilma Batya, David, and Michael, and Rick, and Vicky, and Jay, and Holly, Instagrammers. We've got with us Okoye in Peru. Marlene is in Marlene, to remind me. Sorry, forgot. Rachel in South Carolina. Alice is in Baltimore. Yentatelabent in New York. We have Iron Beauty and some others that I can't make out. Miami. Okay. Of course. Where else? Okay, folks, a reminder that today, doubleheader, being it's Sunday. Also a reminder. Larry's in Los Angeles. Okay. John in North Carolina. Welcome. And Jane is in the Philippines. Doubleheader. Reminder that also 6:30 we'll have the Torah studies. And tonight we will have TRC, 8 p.m. Special edition. Come and join us. Excuse me. They're all special, truth. Okay. We conclude the 20th chapter. Chapters 18, 19 spoke about the uniqueness of the divine soul, the quality of its love, uniqueness, the source of it, of Chachma above, and ultimately, Jewish people have died because that soul, when it came to a test of faith, even though they didn't live with their faith, they died by their faith, which is very unique. What we're doing with the Alter Rebbe wants to take us now on a journey is that we should live with it. How do you live with that? How do you live with the Ava Miseteres, with the hidden love of the divine soul? So, chapter 20 begins with an idea that that before God created the world, he's one and only. After he creates the world, he's one and only. Yet, how do we understand that? I'm here, you're here. How do we make sense of that? That he's the only reality. So to understand this, we need to understand the power of speech, the concept of speech. We're going to go a bit on a journey. It's going to take us a few classes. The Alter Rebbe just gives us little granular ideas that will piecemeal and put it together, the entire puzzle, and we'll get clarity through chapters 20, 21, 22 in particular, and then from there will be what that means, the consequence of that. So God creates the world with his word. So now let's understand what a word means that he creates with. So we take a parable or analogy from us and our word. So the word that I speak, compare it to the capacity, right? God said, let there be light, right? So those words in comparison, now let's take it in human terms, is incomparable to the power of speech that is infinite, right? We can speak and speak and speak. I can do that. Talk and talk and talk, without end. That's the power of speech. Now, the source of that speech is thought. So the faculty of thought, which is the source of speech, is even, a word, or the words, let there be light, compared to thought, is totally insignificant, right? It's nothing. Now, thought and speech are already language. They're already letters, shapes, forms in our thoughts and in our speech, right, as I'm speaking now. But they also have a source where they come from. Where they come from? Well, they come from the mind and the heart. And in the mind of Chachma Bina B'das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, right? There, in intelligence, there is no language. In the heart, there is no language. It's the source of language. Language only begins in your thoughts. That's where it begins. So, how is the words "let there be light" compared to the emotional state of being of an individual, where there is no language? It's incomparable. It's totally nothing, totally nullified. So what does that mean? It means, let's say, I use this example because between us, and no, not any further, it's just between us. I like chocolate. So now, the fact that I like chocolate, where is the liking of that chocolate? It's in my heart. How is it in my heart? Well, it's without any expression or without any conscious awareness of it. But it's there. And the proof is, because I have it in my heart that I like it, when I see it, all of a sudden now I have a conscious awareness and I'm thinking in letters and symbols of chocolate. But before that, there were no letters. There was no language in my heart. It was beyond language. The desire, the craving from my heart, right? That came through a stimulus of my understanding, of my intelligence in my mind. Well, that would be, I love Tanya. I gave the chocolate example. Let's give the Tanya example. The love of Tanya doesn't mean I'm consciously thinking it, but the love is there. Why is there that love? Is because I have a perspective and understanding with my intelligence that leads me to have in my heart, before any form of language, right? Letters which form language, that I have that feeling there. And because I have that feeling, now it will enter in the consciousness of my mind to think it in a language about Tanya or about the chocolate. But before I do that, the letters that make the speech, I want chocolate, or I want Tanya, right? It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya, as I say every day, twice a day at least. The point being, those words are totally insignificant to, first, the power of speech that is much more than those few words. The thoughts where they come from is those words are totally insignificant. Thought you never turn off, speech you could, totally insignificant. Insignificant here, we don't mean that it's not an important statement. It's an important statement, yes, but it's insignificant in its power, in the very expression itself, not in the impact of the expression, right? But the very words themselves, nothing compared to thought. Nothing. And thought, it comes from the emotional makeup that is beyond any form of language, and that comes from the intelligence that is even beyond the heart, and its subconscious feeling that is not expressed in language, right? So we can have the same feelings and express it in different languages. So I say it's a privilege and a pleasure, I say, to teach Tanya every day, to share the Tanya with you. And you can say that in French, you can say it in Spanish, you can say it in different ways. It's all the same feeling in the heart that comes from an understanding of the mind. The point being is that the spoken word is utterly without value in comparison to the soul's intellectual and emotional powers. Which means that the Word of God, who creates and animates the worlds, compared to Him, if compared to me, it has no value. Again, not the impact of the word. We're not talking about that when you say a beautiful, nice thing to somebody, or a meaningful statement to someone, or a teaching to someone. That's not the point over here. It's not. That's already the content of it and the effect of it. We're saying the very words themselves. Yes, Polish too. German, Russian, whatever it is. Expressed in many different languages. The point is, though, the worlds, therefore, that are created through the speech of God are nullified. That's where we're going with this. we begin chapter 21. In chapter 20, we speak about the power of one word, or the words, let there be light, or the word in the human condition of one word compared to the power of speech is insignificant because you can speak ad infinitum. And the source of that is thought, totally insignificant, comparable to thought. And thoughts are already language with letters that make up a language. The source of that thought is the emotions that is beyond the language. So its source, the word the, maybe the best example, the compared to the source where it comes from, totally insignificant. Meaning that one word that is the word of God that creates and animates creation is insignificant when we're speaking in reference to God. In the human condition, it's insignificant. It's incomparable. Again, not the effect of a word. The effect of a word can be, can build someone's life, destroy someone's life. Say something good, something positive. But that's already the content of the words. Every time with the words, the very words themselves. Continues in chapter 21 with this idea. The Alter Rebbe says that the nature of the divine order is not like that of a human being. Now we're taking the idea of speech a bit further in the metaphor. Speech is the metaphor of God creating the world. So when a human being says something, well, it's not like God when he says something. Why? What does it mean? Because when we say something, like I'm doing right now, there's a breath that's coming outside of me. The words are coming outside of me too. Right? They're independent entities, separated from me, the speaker. They're separated from my intelligence and my emotions. They came out of me, right? Now, before they came out of me, right, where are they? In me, a part of me, right? In my thoughts, and my thoughts come from my emotions, and my emotions come from my perspective, my intelligence, and the perspective my mind has in perceiving, that therefore feeds the emotions, right? But God's speech is not separated from him. How do we understand that? Well, firstly, because there's nothing outside of God. There's no place devoid of him. It's not like he spoke the world into being. Oh, the world's in the yonder, and he's way here. He's up there, and we're down here. No. Therefore, obviously, our speech is not like his. God forbid. Right? Likewise, our thoughts are not like his thoughts. His ways are very different than our ways. So God's speech can be illustrated by how our speech works in the sense, well, I'm sorry, before that. If that's the case, then why are we saying that God speaks if it doesn't come, if we're using a metaphor of speech, there's obviously something wrong over here, because when I'm speaking, the breath is coming out of me, the words are coming out of me, they're separate from me, so much so you got to be careful what you say, because you can't collect the words and bring them back again. But if we say by God that his speech is not separate from him, because there's nothing separate from him, which we need to understand. How do we understand that? But before that, well, why are we using the term speech with God? Oh, because speech is about revealing oneself to other. That's why I'm speaking right now. I'm revealing something that I have in my mind, my understanding at least of Tanya, that I'm sharing, as I say, the privilege and to share with you. The privilege and the pleasure to share with you. So that's what I'm doing. That which is hidden from within, if I wouldn't express it, would remain from within and not revealed. So the idea of speech is to revealed. So likewise, in God's perspective, it's the emergence of the light of the Ein Sof of God from a concealment that was before creation and revelation through the act of creation. So that's the purpose of speech, is to animate the world through speech, to reveal God. How does he do that? Through the utterances, let there be light and so forth. With that, he reveals himself within creation. Likewise, he also reveals himself not just through the creative act, but his actually even more inward revelation is through the Torah. What we're learning, Torah, the prophets, the holy writings, are also called God's speech, meaning he's communicating, he's revealing. Well, that's what he does in Torah. He's revealing himself. And that's what it means a prophet when they have a prophetic vision. It means that God's revealing himself to them. Right? So when we use the metaphor speech, that's where it goes. But not that the speech is out of him, separate from him. Because God's speech is united in one with him, in an absolute union. Just like in the human being, speech is also united with us before we speak it. It's a part of me, in my thoughts, and in my, not in my, just in my heart and in my mind. It's totally unified in its source, in the intelligence and in the heart of the individual. And that's in the middle of a thought that the Alter is going to continue. That's the way it is in us. So he's going to take that metaphor and use it, in reference to God in tomorrow's class. But what we see in us is that speech is a part and united with us, not as I speak the word, because then it becomes separate from me, outside of me. But by God, you can't say that there's anything outside of him. Right? Before he created the world, he's one and only. After he creates the world, he's one and only. So we're trying to understand this with the metaphor of speech. So we understand how speech is insignificant, incomparable, compared to the power of, or the infinite power of speech, the non-ending power of thought, and that thought coming from the emotions and the intelligence. So we have that idea of speech, that it's incomparable to its source. So likewise, God's speech in creation, it's incomparable to God. We're using the word speech. That means it comes out. So it's something separate. Can't say that. Nothing separate from God. We're not separate from God. How come I think that way? How come I feel that way, at least? Maybe we're trying to learn that now. We're going to learn. Hold on. We're going to get there. So, but why are we using the metaphor of speech in reference to God? It's because speech is about revelation, ultimately. It's about revealing. I'm revealing now ideas that I have, that I understand to you. God is revealing himself through the act of creation. The Word of God. Let there be light. Revealing that within the act of creation. Not that it's separate from God, but revealing of God. Where else does God reveal himself? In the Torah. His will and wisdom. But it's not separate from him. It's united with him. in which we will, as we see in ourselves, that before we speak something, the word is a part of us and united with us. More on this to come. Stay tuned. The Alter Rebbe wants to keep us on the edge of the seat for more. Reminder tonight, 6:30, Torah studies. A reminder, 8 o'clock, TRC. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? I don't see any. All right, folks. All right. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Zurich Kadesh from Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure. Those are my words. Share with you the Tanya. And I mean them. God bless you. Rambam coming up in a few moments. Join us. Have a wonderful day. And a good Vach.